Remember, if you call out, please mute yourself when you come back in. Okay. So, bargaining negotiation, right? We can bargain. We can do collective action. That's our protest. Or we can also do a class action lawsuit. One of the things that you may not realize is when you're doing community work, and the indigenous leader, that's the one who had the natural power before you even came there. So they're the one who many times can stop what's going on. So we see in big cities, right, when there's been a shooting, a police shooting, and then the people are looting, they're shooting, they're burning down the city, all that stuff. So many times what you'll see is you'll see someone from the government step down. Almost always someone has to pay for this. So what happens behind the scenes is the local leaders will go to the government officials and say, hey, wait a minute, I can get these people to stop, but you got to give us something, right? Somebody's got to pay for what happened. So almost always you'll see the mayor step down, the police chief step down, and that's part of that behind the scenes negotiation that we often don't see. Again, program evaluation, that belongs to the administrative side, so I'm not going to go that today. Conflict theory, you learned that way back in social work. We learned about, gosh, remember like Russia when they were or old Russia, and the conflict theory said that there were not enough resources, and that's what caused the conflict. So that's when things like socialism came into power, that in order to stop the conflict between the people, the socioeconomic status, is if we gave everybody the same resources, that the conflict would no longer be there. You did learn that way back when, I know you did. Okay. Go over some other terms with you, and then we'll go look at some questions. I didn't mean to click on this page, but I do know that the test in general has a lot more questions on HMOs, and I'm not sure why now. HMOs have been around forever. Anybody take the test recently and seen anything on there about HMOs? Okay. It's a health maintenance organization. It organizes, it maintains how your behavioral health benefits, your medical benefits, but also how your behavioral benefits are handled, given out. Okay. So again, just some things about community organization. Okay, the goal, community organization practice uses a sociological, social systems, and social active perspective to address the community problems. So societal, that just means everybody in the society, or everybody in the community we're addressing their problems. Emphasizes knowledge related to social power, recognizes the reciprocal process between the person and the social environment. Social problems are explained as a consequence of the structural arrangement rather than resulting from personal inadequacies. So what that means, especially if we're looking at like institutionalized racism or institutionalized segregation, things like that, that when we're looking at clients, we need to not look at the client always being in fault, but what is wrong in their environment. Right? So we're trying to make sure that community practice makes it fair for everyone, social justice. You'll get this, but those are our tasks and goals. Okay. And again, so we look at the values underlying the definitions. We want to enhance the participatory skills of citizens by working with them, not for them. Develop leadership. Okay, again, we're not going to be there very long, so I need someone to lead this when I'm gone. C, strengthen communities so they can better deal with future problems. D, redistributing resources to increase the resource of a disadvantage. You've heard me mention that a couple of times, right? Because that's the goal of this. Plan change, like a systematic step for the change. Problem solving, well, we know how to do that with our individuals. And then advancing the interests of the disadvantaged so they can influence the process of distributing social resources. We don't want majority rule. We don't want the people with the power to get to make all the decisions. Okay, some assumptions. Members want to improve their situation, right? I'm not coming in telling them what to do. They've called me in and asked me to support them, asked me to help them, right? Members must participate in the change. I don't tell them what to do. I remember working with a different profession, and they were telling me that they had gone to this area and they had cleaned up the area and they brought toys for Christmas for the kids and all the great things they did. And I asked her, so is that what the area needed? She's like, we didn't ask. So the community wants to be asked. Don't just come and think that we need jobs or we need food. Ask us what we need. Same we do with our individual client. We're not going to just give them resources. We're not going to fix the problem. We're going to ask them. So same thing with the community. Participation in community organization initiates initiatives that involve social workers is designed to expose community participants to democratic decision making. Again, that's not Democrat and Republican. Democratic just means that everybody has a say so. That's what we're looking for. We want it to everyone, my vote to count. I don't want it to be, because African Americans are only 13.9% of the population, that I get half a vote. We want it to, in the community, we want everyone to have an equal vote. Okay. Talk about those again. Those are same practices, the locality development. Okay. The tactics I will use emphasize on consensus and capacity building, right? That's the goal of this. My role as the worker is an enabler. Enabler is not a bad thing, right? We've always seen that in the drug and alcohol world, and oh my gosh, that person's enabling them. An enabler moves things out of the way. In the drug and alcohol population, so the wife calls in so her husband doesn't miss work, or she takes care of the kids because he has a headache. So that's what the enabler does. So in a community, I'm enabling, I'm moving things out of the way so the process can happen. Coordinate, educator, broker. Okay. And again, like I said, the location is always just geographical boundaries. Okay. So that's what I'd be doing if I were working at a locality development. B is social planning, right? That's the second step. Emphasizes careful, rational study of community, political, social, economics, and population characterized to provide a basis for identifying agreed upon problems. So careful, rational study. The community's political systems, the economic system of the county, of the area, the range of solutions, all of those things, right, to help this agency move. So my goal is problem solving, task oriented. Let's get this job done. We need to make sure that there's daycare for these kids. There's no grocery stores on this side of town. What are those changes that we're planning on? The tactics can be consensus or conflict. We prefer consensus. However, we're okay with conflict if that's what needs to happen. And then you're a researcher, reporter, data analysis, program planner, program implementator, or facilitator. And your boundaries, the total community or a functional community, like people who define themselves as a community. It's not necessarily geographical though. Okay. Welfare councils, federal bureaucracies, planning boards, all of those things. And of course, now I'm going to take some action. I've done my planning. I've done all my research. Let's do something. It requires an easily identifiable target, and relatively clear-cut, easily explainable goals. The target is usually those community institutions that control and allocate funds, economic resources, and power. We're trying to make it fair. It is not fair because I can buy a $300,000 home that my kids get to go to the best school, and I live in a $30,000 trailer, and my kids get sucky schools. That's not fair. We still pay taxes. Not okay. The implicit assumption of the social action model is that different groups in the community hold interests that are in conflict and largely irreconcilable. The conflict arises from the fact that the resolution of the power requires the group with resources to relinquish some of the power or resources voluntarily. So we go back with anything. So if we were, let's go back to what happened at the Capitol, right? So if the people with the power at that point, that was the Democrats that had won the election, if they gave up their power, there wouldn't be a need for social action, would there? The social action is the person when the people of the group that has the money and the power don't want to give up what they have. In a community, the people who have the money and the power, right, and their kids go in the good schools, we don't want those kids in our school, right? I want my kid to get the best education. So we're trying to always negotiate the issue of power and privilege. Okay. The best known contemporary practitioner was Saul Alinsky. I know you heard his name way back years ago in grad school or maybe undergrad. And most everybody had to take at least one community class. You probably just, hated it and didn't pay attention, but everybody had to take at least one. Okay. So a shift of power and resources toward disadvantaged populations. Are brown, are black, are marginalized. The change strategy, we identify the issues, we label them, and we are trying to make those changes against powerful community institutions. We are advocate, activist, negotiator. And again, the tactics, conflict is first, right? Because they're not giving up the power easily. So we're going to have some conflict. Confrontation, contest, and direct action. Social reform, of course, is what we want. That's what we want. We want the laws to be changed. Okay, so those are the four major, again, steps of it. It gives you the history of the community organization. You don't need that for the test anymore. We used to learn that and teach it, but not anymore. This section talks a bit about what I mentioned before when there's a change in TANF. So that was back in the Clinton days. Many of you weren't even born, but that's where we limited welfare. All those things happened at that time. Okay, so that was part of social reform, making the changes. Okay. Any questions on details, a question that you've seen, you're not sure how to answer it, you're not sure what it means? We're going to go to questions, of course, and answer them, but ask me any questions that you might have regarding what I've gone over.
Dr. Pam, did you say the steps for like social planning and social action? Can you say that part again?
I don't think I went over steps. I went over the role.
The role, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. The steps are community planning, all the big picture of community organization. But when it comes to locality development, it is just the roles we play and what it looks like, but there weren't steps. So I'll show you something. You might see this term. This is old social work term. But when we started with social reform and really started looking at food stamps and help from the government back in the early Jane Addams era, back in those days, the term that we used was called maximum feasible participation. That means is that the people who are getting government assistance should not make any more than a person working. So you might see that on the test. That's old hit. That's like way old, way, big time social work history. Okay. Okay. Pull up some questions here. Again, can I answer anything that you're not sure of, that you're like, oh, wait a minute, I saw this test. Don't think about it. Sorry, that was my dog. So you can think about it. In this packet, if you have other study material, this is where that social welfare, those questions come in, like SSI and SSDI and who gets what. And I know there's not a lot of those questions on there, but those are some terms that you need to know. And a lot of you that work in the medical field or work in some sort of agency where you know how the government works, you're good. But if you don't, you need to go back and pick that up because those are important questions. Okay, dokie. So let's start off with, and this is question and answer time. So if you'd like to gladly, please, I like it when you participate and share and, get in the groove of things. Okay. I'm going to look at number 6. Who wants this one? Read it out loud and tell me the answer. Be brave. Jessie Blue, are you on?
I am.
Can you see number 6?
Number 6, yep.
Mm-hmm.
Is that for me to read it?
I would, if you don't mind.
All right. A community social worker begins work in a neighborhood with a homogeneous, mainly white working class population. The worker finds that there is little organized effort to improve the schools or any other local institution. There is, however, a community consensus around the school system's major problems. These problems include effective leadership from the school board, a weak facilitating superintendent, and a lack of resources. Most important model to use in considering strategies would be 1, social goals, 2, social planning.
I was trying to make it bigger and I lost it. So I'm so sorry. Let me try that again. I was trying to make it bigger and then I lost the whole thing. It'll teach me. Get back down. Somebody asked if I can make it bolder and I cannot. Lost it. I apologize for that. Oh, 6, right? 6. Okay.
All right. 1, social goals, 2, social planning, locality development, or social action. So what is the most appropriate model to use in considering strategies would be?
The key in that one, remember, I'm going to tell you all, it's a reading test. It's a reading test. Go back in the question and prove it. So the neighborhood is homogeneous. That means they look alike, they think alike, right? Homogeneous means the same. Like homosexuality, heterogeneous means that we're different. Mainly white, working class. Okay, so they look alike, they sound alike. So then, what is the problem in the question, Jessica?
That they have little organized effort to improve the schools or any other local institutions.
You got it. They're unhappy with the superintendent, right? He's vacillating, he's changing his mind, he's weak, ineffective leadership from the school board. They're just done with the school system. Okay, so what model would this be using?
Would it be locality development?
It would be, yes, all right, because they're not fighting against anybody else. They're just in the community. They just want support, in the community from the other people, but they're not fighting against anybody else.
Right.
Good, very good. Okay. Who wants number 7? Thank you, Jesse.
My pleasure.
Mary, would you like this one? Are you there, Mary Wilkins? Maybe not. Gloria, would you like this one? I'm nice, I promise. Hello, Felicia, how are you? You just joined. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, we're going to do question number 7 together, okay? The use of rational problem solving and technical methods to develop new programs or new social welfare institutions best describes what? And it's a reading test. Problem solving, technical methods. What are they doing? Action, planning, locality development, or systems development? I don't see any action in there, right? Don't see any protesting, any picketing. I know it can't plan. It is my planning. There we go. Got it? Because they're just looking at things. They're looking how to develop new programs. They're just planning. Perfect. Okay. I'm going to skip some. Okay. Number 11. Tanika, you want this one, Miss Klein? You're at a Halloween party. It sounds like you're also having fun, so I'm gonna skip that one for you, okay? I hear lots of fun in the background.
Dr. Pam, did you want me? I didn't know how to do the thing earlier.
Yes.
This is Mary. Did you want me to do it?
Please, that would be great.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So, you said 11, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. A group of African American families approaches a social worker who organizes in a multi-ethnic, rapidly changing. I can barely see. Conservative working class neighborhood.
Let me read out loud, so because I know it's kind of small, probably. So, a group of African American families approaches a social worker who organizes a multi-ethnic, rapidly changing, conservative working class neighborhood. There are concerns about discrimination of the sale and rental of housing in the area. Rather than seek legal remedies that are available to address the problem, the worker attempts to put together a broad-based representative community coalition to promote fair housing policies. It is likely that the effort to build a coalition will what? So before I look at the answers, I'm just going to make sure we understand the question. Okay, so then there's a group of African American families who come to the social worker. Now, while it is multi-ethnic and changing, it's still mainly conservative working class. Okay. So I'm not going to put a race on that, but most time on the questions, I'm going to think that's a white middle class kind of family. Okay. They are concerned about the discrimination of the sale and housing in their area. It is illegal to not sell your house to someone because you don't like their race, their sexual orientation, their gender. That's illegal. But they don't want to go to court. They really want to try to fix it within the neighborhood. Okay. So my choices are: one, it'll succeed because housing is fair housing is an issue about what the entire community is concerned. Two, fail because some elements of the community will not enthusiastically support fair housing policy and may feel threatened by them. Three, succeed because the issue is a moral issue and the worker is committed to these values. Or four, fail because the sale and rental of housings are private issues and nothing can be done to regulate private transactions. What do you think, Mary?
I think it would be two.
Okay. Because, tell me what words in the question. You're absolutely right. What words in the question?
Because everybody, I think it said to address the problem the workers attempt. Everybody is not for change, and then it's a working class neighborhood, so.
So yeah. You're absolutely right. The key in the question is she decides to put together a broad-based representative of coalition, right? Broad-based. So then if I get broad-based, what is the majority of the crowd going to look like? They're going to be the conservative working class neighborhood, right? Because that's the majority of people, unless this is totally in an area where everyone is Hispanic or Asian, but that wouldn't, be the issue. So in this one, if I bring everybody together, and we know that African Americans are 13%, right? And my white population is like 60%. If everybody gets a vote, then it's going to fail because that's not equity. So if we wanted to do a stratified representation, that would be better. That would mean that all of the areas would be representative. So we'd have like 2 white people, 2 black people, 2 Asian people, 2 Jewish people, 2 green people, whatever. So that's what we want when it looks at a community, because the majority is going to rule in this situation. So that's why it will fail. Everybody understand that one? Well, yes, because Mary's brilliant. I'm so glad, guys. Okay, so.
Way to go, Mary.
Okay, 15. Let's see here. Peter, are you there? I guess not. Let's see.
Yes,
here.
I'm here, but I'm trying to navigate through my phone.
Oh, I forget that. You don't. You're good. I'm going to put it in the chat box. Maybe that makes it easier sometimes.
Okay. Oh, wait a minute now. There we go. Okay. 15, right?
Uh-huh. Then we read it out loud, or you got it?
I got it.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. Wait a minute. Newly hired. Wait a minute. Yep. A newly hired social worker is trying to build a consistency to work on a particular neighborhood improvements. At a community meeting, key leaders will make a presentation about some local tax issues. The organizers should attend the meeting while attracting a little attention as possible. Attend the meeting and informally talk to people. Participate in the meeting as a neighborhood worker who intends to mobilize people on some of these issues. And 4, attempts to place new issues on the agenda. Okay, let me look at this one again. New social worker is trying to build consistency.
She's trying to build a your consistency. Your people. I'm sorry, your constituents are the people who
okay.
support you, right? So if you think about
Yeah.
the political election, right, the people who can support me are my constituents. Okay,
Yeah,
so they're trying to work on a particular neighborhood improvement. Okay, so now at this meeting, she's there, and the key leaders are making a presentation on taxes, right? So her thought, what she's doing, has nothing to do with what's happening in the community center right now. Okay, so what should she do? She's new.
I would say maybe 2, attend the meeting and just kind of talk to people here and there, kind of feel things out a little bit.
That is my answer. You're absolutely right.
Cool.
Okay. Anybody want to comment on that? Do you know why? So
well, because she's new, she want to build some rapport with the people, I would think.
Exactly. I don't want to walk in the meeting and start like, oh, here I am. I'm here to change your little community, right? No, they're not going to want me in the community. And the first thing I'm going to do is to orientate myself to the community. And at this meeting where there's lots of movers and shakers, I do want to get to know them, but this is not the time for me to come in like a bull in a china shop. Yeah, makes sense.
Totally makes sense. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Any questions, guys? Any about that? Anybody? Who wants this one? 17? I don't bite, I swear. Elizabeth, do you want this one? I guess that's a no. Tia?
I would do an.
Go ahead, Peter.
Okay, I'll do another one. That ain't no problem. A community worker at a neighborhood center is approached by a small group that wants to work on changing community public education priorities. The first major task or phase will probably involve finding out if there is a broader interest in the issues and expanding the constituency for change. Electing a group leader so that there's a clear public representative, formalizing the structure of the group and developing a character, determining a strategy for action. So let me go back to that question, a community worker. That just I just gotta wait for that. Okay, community approached by a small group wants to work on changing community public education priorities.
Yes, you're reading that.
Yep. The first major task or phase will probably involve
With that first
I
line,
would say, yeah, well, because if you look at it, you would look at it and you think, okay, so finding out if there's a broader interest in issues and expanding getting the people behind it. I would think that would be the right answer.
Because it's a small group, right?
Right.
And there's power in numbers. And in a small group, if they come in, and this is, if you're one of those parents, I apologize, but when you have the meetings at the school and you have 3 parents that come in and say they don't want their kids to read the Harry Potter books or the, any of the other books, and they want them banned from the library. Like, if there's 3 of you, we're not doing that. If there's, 60 of you or half the population, then sure. But if there's only 3 of you, that's something that we're not gonna do, because there's the numbers, right? There's power in numbers. Okay.
Right.
Good job. Good job. Very good job.
Thank you. I like to see that I'm thinking pretty straight here.
Yeah, you are. You are. I'll read this one, guys. And if you want to just answer in the chat box, those of you who don't want to hear your voice on my video. Okay, 20. A community organization of low-income neighborhood residents formed to protest municipal city priorities and to demand better services, more frequent street cleaning and garbage collection, improved street lighting, and better school facilities. Many meetings are organized to demand changes in the city's budget and is better representation from local representatives to the city council. The implicit, that means the implied goal of the organization is probably. Vanessa, prove to me number one. Where do you see that in the question? You can type. So I'm going to go back and tell you that it is not number one, because the question says they demand better services, more frequent street cleaning, and garbage collection. It doesn't say more. They want better, right? They want better. So be careful with those questions. It's a reading test. It doesn't say better. Okay. 4 is never going to be the answer, right? Mutuality, because we're never all going to get along.
So would it be 3?
It is. Who said that?
Felicia.
Felicia, tell me why. Where do you see that in the question?
Well, I was thinking more jobs for community residents if that's all the stuff that's needed to be approved.
Did you see that in the question?
Mm,
No.
no.
Okay, so it's, and when I say it's a reading test, what I mean is they're giving me all I need to know in those 4 or 5 lines. I can't bring anything else in there that's not in there, and it doesn't say anything about jobs. The answer is 2. So let's see. Is it Laura? You want to tell me why? Oh, it's Angela, right?
That's my daughter's computer.
I was gonna say I knew that one. So tell me why.
It's 2 because they just need equity, like balance in the resources, more political power, like more say.
So when I say how do you know, I mean, like, tell me what words in the question support your answer.
Okay. So protest government partner.
2 is correct.
They're demanding better services.
Okay, but the answer is 2, increase political power. And I know that because the question says, Tia, do you want this one? I saw you raise your hand earlier.
Well, I said 2, but I actually had gotten it wrong before. So I'm seeing that the things that they want in their neighborhood are more of a political power because they're trying to distribute the money into their neighborhood for the trash pickup and I can't remember the other garbage, and then street lighting, school facilities.
Okay. What they want is they want their representative from the city council to go up and fight for me, right? And you're right, Jesse. They've gone to the municipal government. Most often is your city government, right? And they're saying, like, you know, the people on the other side of the track, they get this stuff, so we don't have enough political power. It's not fair. Right? We've got a congressman, we've got a city councilman, whatever. Why aren't you fighting for us? Okay, so that's why it's 2, because I can prove it in the question. And that's what I always want to do. It's not a guessing test. It's not like, oh, this is what they want me to think. They're not trying to trick you. I promise you, whether it's community or anything else, it is a reading test. Go back to the question and tell me how you know. You know, I can see you, right, Mary? Sorry. Okay, so let's do 21, 22, and 23. Okay, so the vignette says a neighborhood association concerned about area, health, and education problems employs a community worker to explore the problems further and develop new programs. The worker initially established a relationship with a variety of community representatives and involved residents in the preliminary discussion about the problem. So they've gotten together already, right? The community social worker, she is exploring the problems further. She's developed some new programs. Initially, she establishes a relationship with several of the community members, right? And they've done the preliminary discussion. So the question is, what happens next? After the organization has determined the initial program objectives, the social worker's main goal is to what? I've already got our program objective, so what am I going to do next? A, help the members partialize and assign the task. 2, advise the group of the route it must take to meet its objectives. 3, prepare a proposal that will enable the group to find funds to develop a program. 4, continue meeting with the group and provide support for the activities in which the group decides to participate. Okay, so remember, this is a community question. I don't get to come in and tell them what to do. So I'm trying to make sure that I am in, I'm doing what they want to do. Okay, so when it says advise the group of the route it must take, that one's automatically out, right? I'm not telling anybody, whether it's an individual or a group, we're not telling them what route they should take, right? That's out of my field of expertise. We don't do that. We support clients. We'll let them with their own decisions, right? Okay. I saw in the chat box. Let's see here. I see a 1 in the chat box. Anybody want to tell me why?
I can try.
Okay.
So the program objectives have already been determined. So the
Correct.
next stage would be to assign tasks, like planning.
Okay. Okay. So am I assigning the task?
Help the members to partialize.
Exactly. So I'm not coming in telling them what to do, right? That is there. I'm coming in just supporting them. Perfect. I'll put this in the chat box, guys. Good. So now 22, that's the follow-up with the same vignette. The worker's main role will be that of what? So if she is helping the members partialize and assign the groups, what is her main role overall? And go back to the vignette, right? What was that in my chat box? I see a 3. Is that for us 22, right? And I'm an enabler in this one. I am an enabler. I certainly am. Now, how do I know that? The answer is 3. What am I doing to enable? I've done all these things in the question to set them up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I helped them. I initially established, I did the relationship, right, with a variety of community members who got together. Okay. After they developed, right, I helped them partialize and sign the task. Okay. So I'm not advocating for anything in this question. And a broker usually means I'm making a deal somewhere, right? I always think of your mortgage broker, your stock broker. I'm trying to broker a deal between 2 agencies. I'm not doing that. I'm really just trying to enable the clients to get what they want done. So if that means, getting them started, giving them a little push, I've done all of the steps I have so they can do it without me. And 23, as the organization's policy, as the organization's program develops and members grow, the worker is likely to be concerned about what? So now she enables them. They've got all these things together. The organization has grown and it's developed. And so what happens next? I'm going to develop leadership. 2, develop a formal structure. 3, envision the results for the members. Or 4, provide support services for organization participants. Okay, I can tell you that I am not going to envision the results for the members. That is not my job. Okay, I don't get to envision anybody's dreams of my own. Okay, I'm not going to provide support for the organization's participants. I'm not doing anything individually. This is a group. I'll support the group as a whole, but I'm not going to support the individuals. So then that gives me 3 and 4 are out. So now I'm down to 1 or 2. Okay, and it is 1. It is 1. Why is it 1?
Because the community has to find a leader. You don't have to develop a formal structure. For them, they have to do it themselves.
Exactly, exactly. I'm leaving. Remember, I don't live here. This job is done. So now somebody in the community is going to, take over the leadership. Okay, so yeah, I'm out of there. I'm out of there. I'm on to my next job. Okay, 26 and 27 for the chat box. Many residents of a low-income community believe the police abuses are a serious problem. They also believe the city government lacks sensitivity to their community's economic and social problems. A new police brutality allegation has led a local citizens planning board to employ a social worker to help them develop strategies to address police policy and to change local government priorities. So before I go on, let me make sure that I understand the question. Okay, so there's a low-income community, okay, and there's another police brutality allegation. And this sounds to me like what happens in the news often, right? That's what we see on the news. It's just it's continuing. So who hired me? Okay, so the new police brutality allegation has led the local citizens planning board to employ a social worker to develop the strategy. So I work for the community planning board. That's who hired me. So then 26, the worker's first objective would be to 1, gather facts before making any recommendations. 2, develop a consensus within the community. 3, develop a clear statement of the issues and begin organizing the community. Or 4, call a meeting with the community and political leaders to resolve the problem. And Lamar, tell me how you know it's 3. What words in the question prove it to me?
I did that because they mentioned a few different things as to what their concerns are or what the issues are. And also, I think if you're going to present the problem to community leaders, you need to have everyone agree on what exactly they're fighting for.
Okay. What's wrong with number 1? Anybody? Gather facts before making any recommendations. That's what I normally do, right? Assess. So why is it not okay in this one?
Because
That wouldn't be
It's
right.
because of the work and who he's working for, he or she is working for.
Who said that?
This is Sharon.
Yes, there you go. That's it, right? Okay, so I work for the community. Okay, the community has said the city government lacks sensitivity. The city government doesn't care about their economic, their social problems, and now there's another police brutality. If I get the facts from the people I work for, they're going to say, this is what happened. if I get the facts from the police, the government, they're going to say, oh, this what happened, right? If they could get along, they wouldn't need me. So the facts are going to be different from both sides of from both viewpoints, right? That's how they, as they see the facts. So that's not going to help me at all. Okay, develop consensus within the community. So I'm hired by the local planning board. Okay, so they hired me. So I'm not going to get consensus in all of the community, right? I'm only working for this one board. So if they've hired me, they're probably already on consensus. And the whole communities, we're not going to get there. If we can't gather facts, we certainly aren't going to gather a consensus. So then call a meeting with the community and political leaders to solve the problem. They've done that already. The question says they believe that the city government lacks sensitivity in their community economic and social problems. They don't feel like the government's even listening. So then 3 is my answer. Very good job, Lamar. Okay. A clear statement. I want to know, what do you want me to do? The neighborhood planning board hired me. So what are we working on? Where are we going next? Okay, so develop a clear statement and begin organizing the community. So the statement about the issues is from the people who hired me. So when you see those, remember, who am I working for? I'm not working for the entire government at this point. I'm working for the local people on this side of the tracks. I'm not working for everybody. Okay. 24. The primary objective of locality development models of community organization is to, okay, this is locality, right? People that live in the same neighborhood, they most often homogeneous. One,
Dr. Pam, I'm not seeing it. I think you moved the page.
Okay, let me put in the chat box. Thank you.
It's a different page. He's on a different one.
You'll probably get there in a bit. I'm just come on, grab it. Put it in the chat box, and it might just be a little slower getting there, but you should be able to see it shortly.
I'm finished with the burgers.
Okay. So the question is, the primary objective of the locality development model of community organization is what? 1, diminish the power of longstanding influential groups. 2, introduce conflict to resolve power issues. 3, integrate community resources and services. Or 4, strengthen the ability of people to work on their common interest. Okay, and how do I know 4 is the answer? Because that's
I want to strengthen the.
Go ahead, right? Because that's the definition of locality, right? It's one community, and they're already on the same page. So all I really want to do is help the people unite that are already on the same page and figure out what they want to do.
Isn't this empowerment?
Yes, yes, yes. Good. Got it. Good. (31) Unions, protest group, the gay and lesbian rights movement are example of what? Social goals model, social planning, locality development, or social action?
Social action.
Social action.
It is. They're all doing something. There we go. They're doing something. Got it. We'll go back to 30. I don't think I did that one. For many years, social service and political leaders have stressed the importance of the community in improving social relationships, promoting social stability, and in realizing the American political ideas of inclusion and power sharing. As a result, social work, community organization practice, and strategies emphasize what? Okay, So this is overall social work community organization. What is the goal of community organization? 1, develop social skills. 2, strengthen democratic participation. 3, strengthen the role of local leaders in the development of municipal programs. 4, seeking reform of the political structure. What is the goal? That is correct. It's to strengthen the democratic participation. And again, I don't mean Democratic and Republican, right? That just means everybody has some social justice. All our votes count. $32. Don't want to capture it. Okay. A community agency hires a social worker with juvenile delinquency prevention intervention with expertise. I'm sorry. A community agency hires a social worker with juvenile delinquency prevention experience. The worker's responsibility is to develop plans with other community agencies and representative members of the community to address local youth recreational needs. The description most closely represents what? Locality development, social planning, social action, or social goals. Can I put that in the chat box there? Okay. And I see some planning, right? Okay, so what in the words, what words prove that to me? How do I know that is true?
It says the worker's responsibility is to develop plans with other.
Is this a reading test and you just read? Oh my God, what? I'm sorry. Yes, because it tells me right there in the question. Don't think so hard. Just read. And whether it's community or anything else, I promise you, don't bring in any of your past stuff. I don't care what your agency does. I don't care what your professor told you. It is a reading test. Go back in the question and prove it to me by the words in the question. Now, of course, there's some that you won't know because if you don't know content, right, you're going to be stuck. If you don't know the types of locality, I mean, the types of development, you're not going to know it. So you've got to know content, but it's a reading test, guys. 49. Last year, Maryville Hospital determined that the community supported developing a new senior citizens program and health center. The hospital is now ready to develop programs. The worker assigned to develop the community support might first, 1, investigate impediments to the plan and develop a cogent supportive argument. 2, revisit the issue and canvass community groups in the area to see if support can be mobilized and to obtain their involvement. 3, obtain testimonials from respective members of the community to demonstrate community interest and support. 4, limit participation in additional fact finding to develop a convincing case. What would I do first? And know me, I'm always thinking the first question is, do I need to have all the information? Do I need to assess? Need to ask some more questions? So let's rule out, okay? So investigate impediments to the plan and develop cogent supportive arguments. Okay, is there anything in the question that says that there's a problem with the plan? All it says is last year they determined that they needed it and now the hospital is ready. So there's nothing in it that's saying it's a plan. Okay, so since it was a plan last year, the first thing I want to do is revisit to see if they still want it. right? Revisit the issue and canvas community groups in the area to see if support can be mobilized and to obtain their involvement. Do you still want this? Right? Look at our year. Where were you last year? Well, I was here, but we're all locked in the house, weren't we? So just because we came up with the program last year does not mean we want it this year. And so that's what I tell you. It's a reading test last year. So go back and look at it. Okay. So 3, obtain testimonials from respected members of the community. Again, it doesn't say there's a problem. And limit participation to additional fact finding and develop a convincing case. I don't have to develop a convincing case. We did it last year. I just want to know if you want it to happen or not. Okay, so all that legwork had been done.
Dr. Pan, wait, I'm so sorry.
Mhm.
What was the thing about the community leaders?
Obtain testimonials from respected leaders
Uh-huh.
of the community to demonstrate community interest and support. So if I were trying to, if this were a year ago, right, when I was making this plan, I definitely would have done that. I would have gotten from the leaders of the community that they support this. But I've already done it, right?
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Because we're kind of close. It's too close to 2.
So the key in 2, because it says
Revisit.
revisit the issue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, because it was last year. That's the key to that one. It was last year.
Visit. Okay.
Okay. Okay. I like 52. I was like 52. I like this one. Put this one in the chat box. A neighborhood coordinator in a social welfare department finds it possible to be effective only by relating in different ways to clients and staff of the welfare department. The worker's change of attitude and conversational style in dealing with these very different groups is what? A, inappropriate. Professional ethics dictate that a social worker is consistent. 2, inappropriate. The worker need only respond to the client population and can be dishonest to the staff of the welfare department. 3, inappropriate. As an employee of the welfare department, the worker's first loyalty is to them. Or 4, appropriate, because there are conflicting pressures from each group and the worker needs to respond to both groups concerning both groups to remain effective. We go back to the question to make sure I understand it, right? So, okay, so she's a neighborhood coordinator and she works at the welfare department. And she finds that she needs to relate different ways to clients and to staff, right? So she relates to staff this way and she relates to clients another way. The worker's change of attitude and conversational style in dealing with these very different groups. So the fact that she talks to her colleagues different than she talks to her clients, is that okay or is that not okay?
It's okay.
Yes, Vanessa. You got that. It is 4. Yes. Right. We all do that. When I hang up this phone, do you think I talk to my kids the same way I'm going to talk to you?
No.
Okay. And I really love my many of my my people from the Caribbean. I like you'll put me on hold for a second. I can hear you like yelling in your background to some of your family, and I'm like, that is not how she talked to me, right? So when we're in our community, when we're in our home, we talk different, do we not?
Right.
We do. Okay, so it's okay that I don't use these big old words with my clients. I won't do that. I want to talk in language that they understand. And, and it's not a test question, but, if I work with clientele and every other word of their mouth is a 4-letter word, I'm going to respond the same way, right? You start where the client is at. So it really just depends on what's going on. That's very, very appropriate. Okay.
Oh.
I think that problem with that one is making sure that you understood the question. Because that was just, if you didn't understand the question, you might have been stuck on that one. Okay, last one, guys, 58. And I say 58, rents, I'll put it there first. Okay. By the way, there's a term for that. That's called code switching.
Code switching, yes.
Code switching. So code switching means that I'm going to speak differently to my people at work or my neighbors than I would do at home. So code switching means that you know the language, you know the vocabulary that it takes to operate in this world. When I go home, I can go back to how I talk to my people at home, right? So that's a term called code switching.
What is the question again? What is the number of the question again? I'm
We're
sorry.
doing 58 right now. I was going back to the last one. Sorry.
Was the last one was what, 50?
It was 52.
Thank you.
Okay. 58. Rents have risen rapidly in response to a growing housing shortage. As a result, homelessness has increased and as rents have soared. Many in the community are unaware of the extent to which families are being forced to move out of their homes. Oh, I'm gonna mute somebody, guys. Okay, so just making sure that you're muted. Let's see here. So let me start over. Rents have risen rapidly in response to growing housing shortage. As a result, homelessness has increased as rents have soared. Many in the community are unaware of the extent to which families are being forced to move out of their homes. A community-based housing associate hires a social worker to plan a campaign to secure a rent law control. The social worker would probably first recommend, okay, 1, the group focus on real estate interest and win the voluntary cooperation. 2, create a coalition with a variety of organizations, including banks and landlords, while developing community support for rent control. 3, approaching the town council and the mayor and asking for the support for rent control. 4, that the organization develops a social survey and problem analysis that develops the parameters of the problem and publicizes it throughout the community. So let's go back to the question. Okay, so and this could be written like today, right? Because most areas are having a housing shortage. So rents have risen rapidly. Rents have risen rapidly in response in a growing housing area. So now homelessness has increased and rents have soared. Many people are unaware to the extent which families are being forced to move out. The Community-Based Housing Association hires a social worker to campaign to secure a rent control law. So rent control law just means that we're going to cap the rent, right? We can't keep going up and up and up. So the social worker would probably first recommend, in order to look at getting a control over the rent, what would I do first? Okay. And the problem is, the question is, she says that many in the community are unaware. They don't even know. Okay, so my first thing is I probably need to make sure people are aware, right? I may not need to go to the government. I might not need to fight. Maybe just by realizing what's going on and people are being homeless, that might be enough to stop it. Wishful thinking on my part, but I'm going to start there, right? 4, the organization developed a social survey and problem analysis that describes the parameters of the problem and publish it throughout the community, because I need awareness. Okay, so 1, the group focus on real estate interest and win their voluntary cooperation. You are funny, right? People who own real estate are not going to voluntarily decrease the rent or decrease the sale of their house. No, right? Okay. 2, create a coalition with a variety of organizations, including banks and landlords. Oh, that is so funny. Yeah, the bank and the landlord, they're going to be just fine, right? The landlords are always going to think the client's not paying enough. And the client's always going to think that, you know, I'm paying too much. And the banks could care less. They just want their money. And 3, approach the town council and the mayor, asking them for their support for rent control. I might do that, but not first. First, I want to get the community involved, right? Okay, I got to wrap you up, guys. I will come back later and put a copy of this in the chat box. I'll also put a YouTube video there. I've stopped